welcome back to Brown.
Welcome back to Brown. Hold
Yeah.
on, let's put this on.
Yeah.
Oh, I just touched something. Hold on.
Well, that's what happens when you pick the mic up. I think you got it. There we go.
So yeah, it's my 20 year. 20 years.
Yeah? How has it been?
It's been really cool. Do you know, I haven't been back here for 20 years.
I know, it's
Kinda
so
crazy.
far from New York. I don't know what,
I live in LA.
Yeah. All right, right now.
Yeah.
We're going to get you back. We got to get you back
It's been
more.
really amazing, actually, coming back. I actually tested myself. I walked on to the main green, and I was like, find a Shamu dance studio. And my body walked right there. That's all. I cannot remember the dorm that I was in freshman year.
Nor your roommates.
Nor my roommate.
She's downloaded those files.
All I remember is she used to put her dirty clothes under the bed, and I would wake up and see them. That I remember. Other than that, no.
Yeah, but it's all a blur. But are you happy to be back? Things look good?
I'm really happy to be back. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
And I actually, last night, my acting teacher, so the first acting class that I ever took was here at Brown. I was a theater concentrator. And my acting teacher, the theater teacher, is retiring this year. She's been here for 28 years. And I went to a little surprise celebration. And I realized that, listening to all the other students, that so much of my craft and what I still do today, I discovered here, and I discovered with her. And you know, you forget where you got things, but so many of the pearls that I base my craft on and what I do happened here, and so much of that safety and that exploration happened here.
That's great. Well, Brown is good for that.
Special
Absolutely.
place.
It is,
Special
no
place.
doubt, no doubt. Before we get too far into our conversation, we have to give a little shout out to Miss Debbie Lee. We're thrilled she's here. And really, I don't think I'd be sitting here were it not for the time that I've spent with you with leading women, because this is where Tracee and I met. Yes, we had a Brown connection. Well,
Yes,
it works.
it does. It
That's
totally
right.
works.
The model works. So just a quick thank you. We're really happy you're here. But okay, we have 1,000 questions. We've limited it to 45 minutes. So.
Okay.
You know,
Try and be short-winded.
well, that and
Brevity.
also we're going to try to do the top 10 of them, okay? We'll hope they're the best. But first, let's talk about this great sizzle reel, because it's a very real reel, you know? It feels, of course, it's edited and it's highlighted and it's funky and it's good music and, you know, they're funny scenes. But there's a kind of authenticity to the way you present yourself that I think really comes through here in it. And I wanted to sort of talk to you about your physical comedy, because I swear, I mean, to me, you're the heir to Lucille Ball, really, very much so. Very few people have that physical sense. I mean, you're hilarious physically, even when you're not trying to be, you know, you're still hilarious. And I don't know anyone else who has that gift. Were you always like this when you had those little glasses on? Were you, you know, doing shtick?
Well, my grandmother called it the 10-year-old giggles, then the 11-year-old giggles, and then they just seem to continue.
Right.
I don't know, you know, I seem to use my body. As an adult, I can sort of articulate it better because I really understood that I process everything through my body. I'm not necessarily a thinker, I'm a feeler. So as an adult, I've really been able to use the wisdom of my body in other ways, but I think I express myself through my body. So I don't just talk with my mouth, I talk with like my toes and every part of my body. I have a best friend who said that whenever I'm working and she sees me on camera, she actually watches my hands and not my face. Because my hands they do so much of the talking.
Right.
So I've just always been a silly kid. I was actually really shy growing up, and my shyness manifested in a very large personality. It kept people at arm's length from me because there was only so close you could get when you're doing all this.
Yeah.
And thank God I made a career out of it, you know, because it got me kicked out of a lot of classes.
Oh, did it? Is that how you answered teachers' questions? And what do you mean it got you kicked out? What did you do with your hands that was unacceptable?
With my no, I didn't do any of that.
I'm just checking.
I actually remember in like 6th or 7th grade, my teacher pulling me aside. And it was 6th grade, it was Miss Stanton, and she pulled me aside and she said, you know, you can't do that, Tracee. And I was like, I don't know what I did. I wasn't involved in whatever just went down. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. And she was like, you don't understand. There are leaders and there are followers, and all it takes is you in this class giving them permission to do what they're going to do. And I was like, well, that's not my fault. But so I think I had this way of like, whether it was the smirk on my face or the movement of my body without saying anything of expressing humor, or I think that's hilarious what you just said, teacher lady, or I don't agree with you, teacher lady, or whatever that was.
Yeah, the physical answer.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good. Well, I'm glad you put that to good use, because there are many moments in that reel, but also in the new show that you are about to start, which we're going to talk about, where in the clip for it, where you sort of look over to the side, and I think, oh my gosh, that's like 40 sentences in two eyes. But let's talk about Blackish.
Yes.
Let's talk about this brand new show coming to ABC this fall.
You all don't know, it's coming to ABC this fall. I made it to ABC. Woo! That's the American Broadcast Company.
I think you should do a promo for the American Broadcast Company.
You heard it. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very exciting, and they've put us on after Modern Family, which is their highest rated show, which is a huge vote of confidence for us. And it is it's a family show. It's a half-hour comedy.
Yeah.
Single camera. I'm used to doing multi-camera, so single camera is a jargon in my business, but it basically means that we don't shoot in front of a studio audience. And the shoot days are longer than I used to do, just on Mondays, 2 days a week when you're with an audience. But it really is a show about how to maintain your cultural identity and tradition and race values of sorts in this new world that we live in. Let me put it in a little bit of a more specific context, because I think it's it's not just called Blackish just randomly. I mean, the show's really about upper middle class, a black family, managing that level of integration when they're the only black family, when they're the only representative in their communities, and their kids are going to these schools in which the ideas are colorblindness. So you have a black kid who everyone claims they don't notice is black, and so there's all of this hilarious material about what happens. I just want to give them one quick example, because I've studied the little clip. 3-minute clip.
Yes, I have. They're going to have, the boy comes home from his school, he wants to have a bro mitzvah.
No, he wants to have a bat mitzvah.
Well, that's right. Actually, it starts out he wants a bat mitzvah, and he says he wants his name to be, Shlomo.
Shlomo or Shmuel.
Right, Shmuel. And then his father sort of eventually caves, but changes it into a bro mitzvah.
Exactly.
And that's one thing. But then there's another one where he says he's going to be playing field hockey, and his dad slams on the brakes of the car. And then the third thing is he said he wants to change his name from Andre to Andy because it's more approachable. So talk a little bit about how this script works. What are some of the things you were excited about and interesting about, and what your character's about?
Well, I think in general, I think the show's really interesting because these are all topics that I think all of us are having conversations about, but it's very rare that we get to explore them on television.
Right.
And that's one of the beauties of comedy, and one of the reasons I've loved comedy so much in my life is because I feel like there's so much that can be expressed and received while you're laughing, that if you're not laughing, makes people go, wait, is that appropriate to talk about? You know what I mean? It makes people get really uncomfortable and get weirded out. Whereas when you're laughing, you see where the commonality, where we're all the same, where the connections are and where the identification is. So I love the overall concept. For me personally, my character's name is Rainbow. And on Girlfriends and most of the roles that I play, I just play a black woman. But I personally, Tracee, I'm mixed. My father's white, my mother's black. So I do have a different perspective about race than somebody who is just of one culture. And my character, this is the first time on television I'll actually get to play somebody who represents that and that point of view. And Andre, my husband, played by Anthony Anderson, he sees the world in black and white. And his father, played by Lawrence Fishburne, yeah, I said it. That's right. Lawrence Fishburne represents the older generation and that different way of thinking that we are not necessarily in now. So Andre is caught between this other generation, me, and then where his kids are in this new way of thinking. And I think that although this show specifically is about black and those specific issues that are coming up in our community around those kinds of things, it really is a show that's identifiable across the board because, as I put it, we're all dealing with our ish. And whether it's that you're dealing with a father and a mother who come from different traditions and different cultures, and as you're raising your children, how you sort out how to raise them and maintain a sense of your heritage and your culture and your tradition and what's important to you. It's the same thing if you're Polish, Jewish, whatever it is. We're all dealing with that in this new world.
Right. But I'm CSREA, so I got to push. We had a chat in advance. I'm like, I got some race questions.
That's fine.
So here's
Race
the thing.
it
Yeah. That's going to be our new motto.
Race it up.
Yeah, we're going to race it up. No, but look, I agree. We all share many of those traits, but unfortunately, there is a history where in the United States, if black people are specifically black, somehow it appears to exclude other groups of people. So the challenge is to recognize that that's not the case. So of course it's to say, yes, it's for everyone. But Lorraine Hansberry had this big issue with Raisin in the Sun. Well, it's just an American family. It's not an African American. No, it is an African American family. You can be both. So how do you think the show will help people potentially break free of that idea that basically being black, which is what the show's grappling with, is in and of itself somehow discomforting in the way that people assume it's excluding people? I mean, do you think it will be able to help the people with that?
I hope so. I think part of the beauty of entertainment is that you actually can move certain dialogues into the mainstream. Right. To allow all of us to have those conversations. But you know what I think of when you were talking, and this is a little off subject, but I can't help it.
That's fine, do it.
Moms Mabley. Because I have to admit, and I have admitted this, I really did not understand the context of Moms Mabley. I did not understand the humor of Moms Mabley, and it did not represent me. So in doing what I do, there was research of that. I'm like, oh, interesting, but that's not mine. You know what I mean? Until I saw the documentary. Which is it's so important. Like, if you have not seen that documentary, Whoopi Goldberg did a beautiful documentary on Moms Mabley, and I started crying. I was like, thank God I saw this.
That's right.
I am an actress, I am a comedian, I am a black woman. Why don't I know this? I need to know this. And thank God I can admit that I didn't know it, admit that I had hesitancy about that humor and that understanding, and then was able to open up to the full understanding of what this woman was doing, and in our culture, in the trajectory of who we are as people of color in this country.
And place yourself in that trajectory.
Place yourself in that trajectory and understand that caricature that this incredibly smart woman created consciously was actually the only way to be receivable in that day and age, and to say the things that she said. And that blew my freaking mind.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I mean, I was like, oh, I need to know who this person is, and that I don't is not okay.
Right.
You know, and so if a show like Blackish and a title like Blackish, where to me, sure, I think, to a certain extent, I think the title is more controversial than the show itself, whereas a show like All in the Family, the title was way less controversial than the show. I don't think we're going to be exploring things in a controversial way. The truth is that we are having a dialogue that all of us are already having.
Right.
We're all talking about these things, but they're not necessarily being talked about on television through characters and people that we can identify with and go, oh, that's me. I look like that.
Right. But yeah, it does. Well, yeah, and many others are like that. Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it also gives us, I think when you think about the Moms Mabley context, it really reveals how important literacy about these traditions are, so that we can see the ways we're situated.
And you and I have talked about this before, but the way we're situated in a larger context, that we are not just individuals, and we are individuals, and there is sort of a larger thing at play that we're all partaking in.
Right.
And what is your participation in that, and what is your voice in that, and how much of it is your personal journey, and then how much of it is what you represent on a larger scale.
Exactly.
You see how I learned how to talk at Brown?
Yeah.
What? I tell you, it's the best thing in the world when people, you're an actress and whatever, they're like, where'd you go to school? I'm like, Brown. They go, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's right. And I got in, too. Stayed the whole time.
You didn't just show up and go to classes. You actually got in. That's good. That's good. Good class.
And graduated.
So let me just spend a couple of minutes on girlfriends. We're just going to touch on it. We got some rules. I know we got a few. Yes, there's a lot of girlfriend fans. In fact, all right. So this is actually my main question. I mean, people love this show.
Yeah.
I saw like 5 YouTube clips, people begging to kickstart, to create, you know, the Sex in the City movie version of Girlfriends. And, you know, I mean, there's a huge amount of excitement. So I guess, I mean, the fan base is mad hyped.
Well, and by
Why?
the way, let's take a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Deborah Lee, because the life of Girlfriends has been completely extended by the run that we have on BET and all the BET networks. It's on Centric, and it's kind of extraordinary because for a while there, I mean, our Girlfriends has been off the air for years.
That's
and
right.
for a while there, people were like, oh my God, I saw that new episode. I'm like, no. Haven't been Joan for a long time, not new. So there's a whole new life for Girlfriends. And then I also want to give a little context. So the magnitude of Girlfriends, keep in mind that when Girlfriends was on the air, social media did not exist. So I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But the reach that Girlfriends had and has happened without social media and has now only taken on a new life in this age of social media.
Right.
So, so your question was
My question is, I mean, look, it's a great show, but there's something people are tapping into, right? I mean, and I'm wondering if you have any sense about what the love for Joan's character is, what kinds of feedback you've gotten that can help shed light for us on sort of what you think the reason is for the excitement. Not, you know.
Well, I can't speak for anyone else. I mean, we could probably ask a few of these people what the impact was, and they would have a more objective, sort of easier answer from that. But I can tell you for me, I believe the writing was amazing. It was the thing that really kept me so excited for 8 years. I mean, I really felt like a new script was Christmas. Like, it was amazing. To play a character for that long, 176 episodes, and still feel excited by who you were discovering as this person was amazing. I think the chemistry between the 4 of us was magic. I think that it happened immediately. I think that the persona of the show Girlfriends developed immediately and quickly and was something that was way beyond any of us. And I think people responded to that. I also think that Mara Brock-Akil, who created and was our executive producer from the beginning, who now, you know, The Game and Being Mary Jane and all of her other shows, Mara had a very specific vision for the show, that all 4 of these women were of different shades of our skin. And that we represented, not just in our skin color, but in our points of view, 4 different kinds of Black women.
Right. Let me just interject here because you know I got 100 questions.
Please.
But you know, this is interesting because this is why I wanted to ask the question about Girlfriends, because it wasn't just that there were different personalities, different colors, different, you know, ways of being. There was also the idea that Black women were in a community. They didn't always get along. Yes, there were conflicts and there was disagreement, but there was a fundamental sense of relationship and community. And as I look to the landscape now, particularly of reality TV, where pretty much the entertainment is Black women pretty much killing each other or about to engage in a fight, I'm just wondering, could Girlfriends, if it didn't already have a following, would it be made today? Do you think the landscape is really available? In other words, have we, in a sense, changed people's diet? Would they see this as really a realistic portrait of a community of Black female friends?
Okay, but you're asking 2 questions.
I'm asking about 6.
Okay, so
I think you're, Sorry, sorry.
The two I heard that I want to answer.
I just wanted to give you a smorgasbord so you'd have options.
Platter of sorts. So in terms of, so I do think that a show like ours would and could be made.
Okay.
Has the appetite changed? Yes, and I'm confused by it. But I really think people are hungry for something different. And I mean, I'm really tired of seeing Black women act like that. I don't understand it. And I'm confused by it because I literally sometimes watch it and I'm like, but who are those people? But who are they? I don't know them. I don't know them. I go on the subway in New York. I walk down the street. I don't know those people.
I know.
Where are they living? And how do we keep finding them to put them on TV?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand.
Yeah, they're finding them in Hollywood, I believe.
I don't know but there are, because
Well,
it's
that's
not,
I meant metaphorically
Right,
speaking.
but
They don't
it's-
exist.
It's
Right. No, I'm
really,
with you.
it's fascinating, and don't get me wrong, I do not have judgment for people making any choice that they want in their path. Like, do your thing. But I would like to see some stuff on TV that represents me.
Right, right. No, and that's right. I mean, I think, again, to put it in some more context, it's not only that these women are not even these women. They're edited into being these women, and there's a way in which the emphasis on the fighting, the emphasis on the conflict, the emphasis on a certain kind of hostility and individuality over group is the story that is being created. I don't even think the women are the women themselves.
I don't know if they are either. I think my biggest concern, truly, I work with teen girls. I was a teen girl. The images that you see, I mean, that stuff makes such an impact. And to think that hitting somebody is the answer to a conflict is the weirdest. I'm like, what's happening? And they say, we learn so much from television, from media. So I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many conversations in this. What does this
Right.
mean about women? What are we saying that women are? What are we
Right.
saying that women's intellect is, that this is how we present ourselves and communicate with people? What are the priorities in our culture, that this is what we're
Right.
all watching? Because somebody's watching it, because
Yeah.
it's making somebody some money.
Yeah.
So, I personally, when I get nauseous when I watch it.
Yeah.
I really do.
I'm always afraid, like, I know the fight's coming. I feel so sick and I gotta
makes,
go.
It's
I don't,
ridiculous, but it makes me feel like I couldn't watch Fred Flintstone because I knew that the violence was coming.
Fred Flintstone.
Swear to
Oh,
God.
you're very sensitive.
I'm very sensitive.
Like Fred?
But when I know it's coming,
Yeah.
or I can't watch like episodes twice of a television show. It's hard for me because when I know it's coming,
Yeah.
it like makes me
Yeah.
nervous. So, or when you walk into a room and you feel a conflict, you feel like two people are going to start arguing. So that's what these shows feel like to
Yeah.
me, and that doesn't feel comforting or fun.
No.
But I don't think I answered anything you asked me.
Yeah. No, you answered everything. Excellent. All right, we got another topic.
Okay,
You
go
ready?
ahead.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to switch the image up
Oh,
here.
God.
This is going to be a whole new story.
Oh.
Okay. So
There
you
you go.
wrote a great piece called Let's Get Cheeky in
Yeah.
Huffington Post a little over a year ago, which got a ton of feedback and attention. I think, it wouldn't hurt. It was accompanied by a group of photos of this fascination.
One of the photos was in that article.
Which
this
one?
was actually an Instagram collage
Mashup.
that I put together.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Well,
And it was a conscious choice on my part.
yeah, well, that's what the piece is about.
Yeah.
I mean, the piece is really about, this very complicated dynamic where Black women's bodies are, on the one hand, historically, disrespected and disgraced and mistreated, but on the other hand, have been the source of an enormous amount of fascination. And then Black women are kind of trapped in the middle of trying to figure out how to own their own sexuality, but not exploit their own sexuality. Not be
In a
repressed, and
culture
not where that's all that's going
where
on.
the over-sexualization of
Right.
of Black women and women in general is sort of become mainstream in our culture.
Right. Well, it's extremely profitable and highly, it's always happening. It's profitable and it's always happening. So, what made you want to write this piece? What was the kind of response you got? What happened?
Well, I think part of the reason that I wanted to write the piece, it actually came from a backwards place, and this idea, I don't know if it's backwards, but what I started with, talking about the wisdom of my body, and as a woman, in our culture, there's just not a lot of examples of women who are fully embodied as women. It feels like this sort of projection of womanhood as opposed to an experience of womanhood. And then my own exploration with my sexuality as a person, which I won't say anything that's going to freak people out right now. I mean, but it's a topic that needs to be discussed on group levels, in my opinion, especially with women, and where you find your own sexuality, and that in a culture now where porn is so easily accessible on the internet, and children are actually discovering their sexuality by how it looks as opposed to how it feels, and this sort of sport sex of kinds, and the over-sexualization of women's bodies in our culture, that we've become disembodied from our bodies as women. And that the answer to this over-sexualization seems to, the victims of that become women, in that that the answer to the over-sexualization is not to become not sexual. So where is the answer of our own sexuality? And where is the my ownership of my body. Where does that live? And how do I find that? And how do you explore that, especially when you're in the public eye? What can you play with, in how I dress or whatever that is, knowing that it comes back at you,
Right.
And so part of this Instagram post for me was about, there are certain pictures on there, all of these pictures and images actually, that kept popping up. I mean, these were from photo shoots. None of these were selfies. These were all images that had been taken in the context of larger photo shoots. And, this one with my mom was from the Essence shoot, from our cover shoot. The other one on the top was from Uptown magazine. It was one of 6 photos and a cover. This one never was presented anywhere, but it was a photo shoot I did with a very famous photographer. And this one was something that was caught by accident in there's someone else in the picture, but somehow in that picture my rear end looks humongous. And I am peering over my shoulder and I look like a creepy person, in my opinion. And so
but these keep repeating. You're saying these are like highly
they're highly
repetition.
used pictures that happen on social media and whatever. But they're pictures of mine that exist. And this picture was actually the one I was originally going to post on its own. And the only reason I was going to post it is because every time that picture comes up, I get nauseous because I hate it. But it pops up and I have no control over it. So part of the initial thing for me was, I am going to own this picture and take ownership back of it for myself and claim what I feel about it and let it be mine. And then I decided to do the entire collage because I was like, I have so much fear personally about doing the wrong thing around my body and objectifying my own body, that I thought, I want to take a risk. And I want to take a risk from the place of, this is my body. I am proud of my body and my shape, even though it's taken me time to embrace it. And why not just share it from that context where it's in my voice and from my point of view?
Right. Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing. That's really a flip side of this social media. We think, oh, it's so empowering because, we're going to talk about how you've used social media to great effect. But at the same time, you also learn about kind of unconscious, interpretations of who we might be. But there's a quote, one quick quote from this Let's Get Cheeky that I thought they should hear in case they haven't read it. And that maybe, you could speak to the before you learn to love yourself a little bit, since everyone may not be where you are right at this point on that.
Today.
Yeah, all right. Yes, yet.
Catch me tomorrow.
All right, in the piece you say, I will admit that I have a tenuous, almost antagonistic relationship with my body. It's tough for me to say that. I want to say that I love my body, that I love it without exception, but the truth is that since I can remember, there has been lots of taunting, rude self-talk, the occasional bout of starvation, constant exercise, and a few spells of adoration sprinkled in. And then a little bit later, my favorite line, how I feel about my body can trump even God if I'm not mindful. So, riff on that a little bit for me.
Well, I'm an actress. And I come from a family that is in the public eye. And I'm vain. And I've put it to good use, but I'm vain. My well-being and my self-esteem always trumps my vanity, but it does exist, and I have to give it a place at the table. I don't know, it's an interesting journey. I think self-love in general is a very interesting, very intimate, very complicated journey. And my physical appearance, from my hair to my lips to my eyes to my ass to the color of my skin, not necessarily the color of my skin hasn't affected me as much, are not the norm in terms of what the standard of beauty is in this country. I think that standard is changing. I mean, I remember when I saw Jennifer Lopez, I was like, what? People think she's hot. I'm like, wait, I have a big ass too. And I literally was like, it was honestly a similar feeling to when I saw Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball.
Right.
I saw women that could be that glamorous and that silly and that stupid, and I was like, what? I like that. So cool. My mom's not like that. My mom's not silly, doesn't make dumb, silly faces. And like, you know, I mean, half the time when I talk to my mom, I'll be like trying to tell her a story and she's like, and I'm like, what? She's like, you're wrinkling up your face. I'm like, I'm trying to tell you a story. I'm like, what? I don't understand. Like, I mean, you know, she's like, relax your face, you know, different.
Oh God, that is so funny.
It's hilarious, you know,
one.
those are things. I mean, my mom comes from, you know, Motown finishing school. Like, they learned how to take a picture and put your feet a certain way, you know, so you do this, you know. I'm like, you know, so when I saw Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett, I was like, the world opened up.
Right.
And then I saw Jennifer Lopez, and I was like, my ass opened up. No, that didn't sound right. That sounded terrible. I'm so sorry.
I know what you mean.
Je m'excuse. Je suis désolée.
Metaphorically. Yeah. It's all right. We're running. We should move forward anyway. We'll move forward anyway.
But so did I answer that?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So the standard of beauty, and I do take that seriously. The standard of beauty, and the fact that, you know, we don't always see women and people that look like us. And I have to say about my hair, you know, I forget that my mother, of iconic stature, of how many people in a handful that my mother got to. My mother's a black woman, but my mom wore her hair naturally throughout her career. And I always realize that, and I think, no wonder I'm so comfortable. Like, you get it from somewhere. You get permission from somewhere. I got permission to have big, huge hair in my natural form because that's what my mother did. Not just in private. My mom did that in her career. So, you know, there you see it places that you get permission to do it. I don't know if I answered that.
No, you get private permission and now hopefully public permission because we need both of those.
Right.
Okay, we're going to move along.
Okay.
All right?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
A lot happened there.
A lot happened.
Okay. Okay, I just want to give you
there
a
will
moment.
Definitely be a shame cycle later on that one. No question.
Don't you worry, you'll be all right. Okay, now we're going to move along. Maybe we should take this down. Yeah, okay. I've
had enough of it.
Yeah. So you've been amazing with social media, right? You made a decision that, you know, you weren't going to wait for shows. There's this real sense that, yes, it's great that you're on, I don't know how you did that, ABC, that promo we're going to do, but, you know, that's like the ideal in some ways. But at the same time, you don't really strive for that. You do what you want to do. This is the sense I have of you, whether that's happening or not. So you really try to work in your own spaces. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about what gave you the kind of creative impetus to say, I'm not waiting for a show. I'm not waiting for someone to tell me I'm funny and interesting. That, you know, you decided to not only do an incredible YouTube channel, but also a website with a lot of other things. So both of them are there. And all of the things that were in your sizzle reel sort of, you know, partly spoke to that. The fashion, the food, the space, the little skits, the hair. So talk a little bit about how you put this together, why you put it together, and what you're hoping to have us learn.
Recently, I wrote down a little quote for myself. How do I use everything that I have to get everything that I want? And if my goal is pure creative freedom, how do I do that in a practical way on a daily basis? When my art is my work, when I have turned my creative expression into how I get paid. And I remember early on, when I was here at Brown and sort of trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, people saying, if there's anything you can do other than be an actor, do it. Like, this is not an easy path.
No.
So, and it never quite goes the way you think, and I've had a really good run of it. I mean, the truth is, I knew that after Girlfriends, most really good careers span about 10 years, and Girlfriends was 8. And if you look at a lot of big TV stars, I was like, the likelihood of me getting another hit is slim. It happens sometimes, Christina Applegate, some of these actors, but I was like, I might never, I don't know. I don't know what else will happen in my career. But answering that same question back from when I was starting out being an actor, if there's anything else I could do it. There isn't. This is what I should be doing and what I need to be doing.
Right.
So whether I'm getting paid for it, I'm going to be doing it.
Right.
So where are the platforms to explore? because I come from a public family, I was very frightened by social media when it first started. It concerned me, it freaked me out. I'm not a fan of just giving myself away. I really am a person, because of what I come from, that really honors the sacredness of my experience in my life. My favorite part of my life is my life. My favorite part of my life is walking my dog and picking up her poop 3 times a day, of going to the cleaners and going to the market, and like my life. So I didn't necessarily want to try and commodify it and give it away. However, when I really sat with it, and I sat with it for a long time, I realized that there are certain aspects of myself that sort of lend themselves to this social media thing, and that when used in a way that I choose, is actually an amazing connector and extension of who I already am. I am the woman who loves to go out and do speaking engagements and do workshops. I taught a workshop yesterday that with 35 students here on how to use joy as your guide through your life. And you know, so social media felt like a natural extension of that, on top of the fact that I started to realize that when I used social media, that people were not just responding to my work, they were responding to me as a person. And so it started to be really fun. And then the social media thing, without being on television, started to grow so quickly.
Yeah, it's huge.
Which has been kind of fascinating for me. And so I thought that, you know, there's only so much you can do with Instagram and these different little things, that I would start the website, and then that turned into the YouTube channel, because obviously the long form written pieces are fun, but I love being in front of the camera. So like, and then I was like, you mean you have a camera on your computer and I can do it at home all by myself? Quick! Like, I was like, what? So, so it's been like a really fun extension in that way. I feel like there was another piece of what I...
Well, freedom. You were talking about creative freedom, because, you know, of course, these various shows are opportunities, but they're also constraints.
There are also constraints. I also happen to be an actor or person or performance person who, a lot of the, you know, roles that I play, it's like I have to funnel myself into them. And the internet allows me to do this. I get to funnel the other way. And I also realize that part of what happens in a career is that people know only certain aspects of you, whereas your friends know every aspect of you, right? And not every aspect of who I am as a person needs to go into my career, but there are a lot of aspects of me that do work in my career, that can be a part of my career. And so I noticed that whether it's me going out for something and they say, yeah, but we've never seen her do that. I mean, is she capable of that? Or, I don't understand, I mean, can she host? Is she able to talk if it's not scripted? You know, or things like that when people ask. So I started putting, swear to God, so I started putting, I mean, I know she was funny on Girlfriends, but like, is she funny? Or like, is that just like what was written for her? So what I started to do is all those questions that people had, all those questions that came up, I was like, I'm gonna do it on my website.
Yeah, no,
so
it's a great,
next time
it's
somebody
amazing.
asks, they can go there. I'm like, go check the beauty section, you'll see.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. Now, the other thing that's amazing is that you not only show a broader range of your everyday life, but you also press those pieces into service in this whole new performance art direction, which the audience responded really well to in the
by
sizzle
the way,
reel.
you guys got to see something that no one's seen and is not out there publicly. Those alter ego characters that I have 5 of them, I have a stable, and I have not put them into the public at all, but I do perform
Let's move
as
to a few of them. Why don't you just quickly, because we're almost out of time, and I have about 10 more.
This is Eyebrow Lady. She unfortunately has not gotten a voice yet. What happens is, I've always loved playing dress up. One of my favorite hobbies in life is playing dress up in my closet. That turned into a career in the magazine world as a stylist for a long time, but sometimes those outfits extend a little bit further and become a person.
So let's go to the next one real quick.
This is Fear.
That's a great title. Now, why
Fear is a Southern madam, and all of her prostitutes are manifestations of fear.
Yeah, this is an alternative universe that Tracee
she's
has
very dark. I don't think I can jump into her voice.
Yeah, let's move.
Okay,
let's move.
Could I be Champignon? She's the latest to come up with. She's fantastic, and she is a fashion blogger, and she claims she's the that she has created Barney's and Fiorucci. She's a big liar. It's not true, but she wouldn't say that to you. And she does not like the title of lesbian, but she is, much prefers the women. And she's very free with her love and her sex and things of this nature. And she's also, she loves clothes, but it's really about clothing being the expression of who you are. And she really has an affinity to a broad way of dressing.
And finally,
Madame Hiver, who, if you're around, there's a cabaret tonight, and I will probably be improvising as her. But Madame Hiver is, I did a performance that Tricia, did a Q&A with me. Madame Hiver.
Sorry.
Okay, let me tell you who she is, because
Yes.
I can't do it while I'm in her, and
No,
then I'm
no.
going to do her voice.
Okay.
But she doesn't call herself an alcoholic. She's an alcoholic. Okay. She has a drinking problem. She's an alcoholic. She is an acting coach and a life coach. She's done a little bit of porn, but that was back when porn was very sensual. She feels very free about that. She killed someone inadvertently. And her celebrity clients are Kate Walsh, Joy Bryant, Natasha Lyonne. She credits herself, and she actually does credit herself with helping Queen Latifah make the transition from music into film. You're so sweet, dear. Aren't you? She's wonderful. She just loves people, and she loves you, and you're special, aren't you? I love you, dear. Yes. So Madame Hiver is also wonderful.
Yes, and doesn't she help women with their bodies and getting access
I
to
believe that now in this day and age, it's so strange. People are so afraid of their vaginas. And you shouldn't be. It's something to speak from and talk from. So I have people laugh from their vaginas because it's a good place, right? Anyway, so it is. It's a wonderful place to be.
Oh my goodness. That was...
So, of course, the beauty for me of these characters is that I've been able to express things that, as Tracee, I would never.
Yeah. And I am wondering if you might have killed someone by accident. We'll have to discuss that. We'll have to discuss that.
Yeah, maybe our next talk.
Yeah, maybe our next talk. Well, we won't videotape that one because we don't want to give that away.
I wouldn't want to get in trouble.
But what I love about this is that it really signals that you have a creative framework that you're interested in generating regardless. And that's what your muse is about. And I think that's important, really, because there's so much more constraint than I think people realize. So this is so much more freedom and opportunity.
I think there's so much more constraint in life that we all are experiencing. And I just really feel that, for me, I have to express myself.
Right.
Whether I'm getting paid to do it or not.
Right.
And that voice and that wisdom that comes from those things is a part of what fuels me as a human being and makes me feel whole and fulfilled and in love with my life.
Right. Well, good for you. All right, we got a couple of closing questions because we got to end by 12 because we got
we got to go talk with Deborah.
Yes, right. It's by 12:30. But we've talked about your mom a little bit, but I just want to raise one question on her and then a closing question. So, for the audience, what would you say you learned most from your mother in media, music, actually, this is in top 5, I'm sure, but beyond that, what else did you learn that you really have held and found useful and inspiring in your trajectory so far?
Well, I think the most of what I learned from my mom is really about how she mothered and who the space that she gave me and my siblings to find ourselves and be ourselves and trust ourselves. My mother is obviously iconic in her career, but her career does not hold a candle to who she is as a mother. And if there is such a thing as an iconic parent, she would be that. So, family always came first is something that I learned. My sense of self and well-being is a lot that I learned from my mother, and that to a certain extent anything is possible. I mean, that was a big thing that my mother, and the truth is my mom has done it all. I mean, like I said yesterday in the workshop, she did the Super Bowl halftime show and arrived in a helicopter. You know what I'm talking about?
It's all downhill from there, huh?
If I compare myself to that, I'm a failure. That ain't gonna happen. But, you never know. Anyway, so I think I learned a lot of the balance. I think the most is really to use myself as a guide, to know what my compass is, what's good for me, what's fun for me, what's real for me, what's true for me, what's important for me, and to own that for myself and make my choices from those places. And that anything is possible, and then I've taken that to another level, and I've known, no, it's not. There's a reality to that and to life. So there's this sort of balance of going, keeping the eye on the prize, going towards what you want, and then also being able to be like water and flexible and move through things. But I think the most is just that I come from such a close, supportive, connected family, and in what I do and in my career, to always have that is invaluable.
Right. All right, in closing, which is related to this sort of not everything is always possible. It's not to say that there are absolute limits, but that highly unlikely possibilities exist, and we don't want to have, ribbons and candy floating around all the time in our mind.
I'm not a ribbon and candy person, but I am a joyful person.
Yes, exactly. But that's a really important tension, to be joyful, to have a sense of possibility, but not a Pollyanna fiction about what's going to happen. I think we discussed we're not going to actually get into the WNBA anytime soon.
No, that's not happening.
Probably not happening.
No.
We're just
and this is a lot of what I worked with the 35 students on yesterday. Is where you find that balance, how you find that balance, and how you stay on course.
Right. But I have one question back to the industry part, and this is a little bit tough, but hopefully.
Is this a race question?
Yes, it's a race question. I got to reel her back into the CSREA.
I got you. I'm with you.
Okay, so if there were one thing you would change about how the industry works when it comes to Black characters and Black female characters, what would it be?
I really wish that the industry would just freaking open their minds. Like, sometimes I'm like, what world are you living in? Like, look around. Look around. Like, my world is not all Black or all white or all anything. Like, where's the representation, like the genuine representation of what our world looks like, having that reflected on television and in film? And where are the stories that really are reflecting the humanity of the experience, and not the concept and the stereotype and the sort of paper-thin image of who we are as people.
Excellent. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you, Tracee. Tracee Ellis Ross. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. We really appreciate it. And we have a sign-up sheet if you want to sign up and be part of CSREA's community. We look forward to seeing you at events during the year. Enjoy the rest of commencement weekend, and please come.
Wait, that's Judy. That's Lowry Marshall, who is my acting teacher.
She's here.
Yes, it's Lowry Marshall. Yay, Lowry! Were you here at the beginning? Oh my God! Hi! That's awesome. That's really cool.
Well, thank you for coming. We're thrilled that you're here. Anyway, thank you, everyone. We will see you at the next forums in the future. Have a great weekend.